Willkommen in Neu-Ulm. Welcome to Neu-Ulm. This video you're about to see is intended to present the Neu-Ulm Bike Trail to you, along with what we hope will be interesting information, a bit of history, and some fun. As you can see on the blue line on this City of Neu-Ulm map, the bike trail is a complete loop. Some of it, the piece you'll see now, is a dedicated trail. Other portions are on or along city streets, soon to be well marked with new bike signs. Today's travelogue on the map follows the south to north trail along the eastern border of the city. Watch the big bike move along the screen. Guten Morgen, meine Damen und Herren. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ich heiße George Glotzbach. My name is George Glotzbach. And willkommen an der Neu-Ulm Radweg. Welcome to the Neu-Ulm Bike Trail. We're standing at the corner of 20th South and German Street in Neu-Ulm, Minnesota. It is the morning of September the 12th, 2013. And we're going to do a travelogue for you of the Neu-Ulm Bike Trail. That is to say, a portion of it. Here I am getting ready to go. Put on my helmet, safety first. Everybody wears a helmet. Climb onto my trusty steed here, my 1991 Cannondale Hybrid. I've had this now a long time. It's my best friend. That's a machine anyway. It's got probably 75,000 miles on it today, and it's a hybrid. It's halfway between a road bike, which has got the narrow tires and you use for racing, and the other direction would be the mountain bike, which has got the tractor tires on it. Well, this is about halfway in between. So from this point on, here we go on the bike, and off we go. On our left, you'll see Applebee's restaurant, and on the right side here, Dollar General. Speed about 10 miles an hour. A very light breeze with us here this morning. Temperature 65 or so. Crossing a street. Now we're approaching the west edge of Neu-Ulm Steel and Recycling, which is along the tree line to my right. Now we're stopping right here so that we can get a good look at the new metal crusher at Neu-Ulm Steel and Recycling. Quite a pile of old automobiles and metal of one sort and another. There's the new crusher here. They're proud to say that they can crush anything between a toaster and a school bus, which makes a dramatic presentation of what that machine can do. You put the junk in one end, it runs up that aluminum comes out the other side, the glass goes one way and the rubber goes another. It's amazing. So we are now passing Neu-Ulm Steel and Recycling on our right with the car crusher. On our left are some pole barns for small woodworkers and other industries, and also off to the left is the area that was known as South Market. When Christian Prignitz laid out the plat of Neu-Ulm in about 1856, he had market areas near where downtown is today, but also here about 18th South and again about 18th North, and you'll see North Market Park if you take a look at today's city map. We just passed John Arcer's walking a dog from the Brown County Humane Society, which is over here a couple of blocks. You'll see a lot of dog walkers around this area every morning. Green is about to begin. When I was a boy, this area was nowhere near as treed as it is today. It was a slough, a marsh filled with cattails and pussy willows and small islands where kids like us could gather to drink beer. In those days, there essentially were no drinking rules in New Ulm. If there were, they weren't enforced. And there was a old saloon down along what is now Front Street. It used to be called the Schlange House, the Snake House, and we could buy beer by the case there. They didn't want us drinking it on the premises. We'd buy a case of beer, bring it over here into the slough, find ourselves a little dry island, drink that case of beer, and then return the case to the... Good morning, folks. From 12th South, heading north through this tunnel of green. You'd never know it, but there's industrial sites within 30 yards of us off here to the right, to the east, and off this way to the left, to the west. There goes a rabbit now. We're now coming up to 7th South Street. On our left is Ridgeway on German. To our right is the railroad tracks in Goosetown, right over there. And now we're heading up into the area of South German Park, which will appear, as if by magic, on our left. A lot of big old houses here. Those houses up there used to be the home of the rich and famous. Those were the entrepreneurs who owned the industry down here in the area of the flats between German Street and the river. And they liked to build their big houses there so they could look down upon their businesses, and they were captains of industry and masters of all they surveyed. Now the area is going to become a little bit industrial. We're on 3rd South here now. You can hear the train. The crossing arms are just coming down as the train approaches the intersection, and maybe we'll have a shot of the train going by here. You'll see, here it comes now. Looks like the city of St. Paul, the engine there, the Iowa, Chicago, and Eastern, followed by the good old Dakota, Minnesota, and Eastern Railroad. Now I think part of Canadian Pacific. The railroads arrived here in 1872. Up until that time, New Ulm was served by river boats. We used to get 450 river boats a year here in New Ulm. And remember that the river was frozen for about 3 months, so that's in a 9-month period. We'd get those 450 steamboats. When the railroads arrived in 1872, the steamboats only lasted about 2 or 3 more years, and they were driven out of business because they could not compete. Okay, Hyman Construction here on our right. And right there through the opening there, you see the New Ulm skate park and the BMX park. Both of those get a lot of use in the summertime anyway. Now you're going to begin to see some of the mill structures up here. On your right, a couple of big silo elevators. There's that same train, still moving. Now we're at First South. Off to the left is the New Ulm Post Office. People used to ask, why do you have two fire stations in New Ulm? Well, that's because the town is divided east to west by the railroad tracks. And if you had just the one big fire station here on North Broadway as we have today, and there was a fire in Goosetown, and there was a train going by, you couldn't get the fire trucks down here into Goosetown to put out the fire. So that's why there's two fire stations here in New Ulm. This one to serve Goosetown and the rest of New Ulm, if you can get across the tracks. An important consideration. All right. AMPI, American Milk Producers Inc., big co-op. New Ulm's a billion-dollar corporation, about $1,600,000,000 worth of business in AMPI. This is the biggest butter plant around. Produces 10% of the nation's butter. Off to the left is the Public Utilities Commission's big steam and electrical generator plant. On German Street in New Ulm. Gonna have to put out a little effort here to get up this hill. Around the bend. Now the bandstand is appearing. American flag is flying. Here's the little amphitheater where they have musical performances several nights a week during the summertime. Off here to the right in the shade, you can't quite see him, is Herbie the Hedgehog, smiling at me as I go by. Commemorative walkway there with pavers with people's names and other events on them. A formal garden, one of the attractions here in essentially downtown New Ulm, which is just up the hill. Right up this hill now is the German Bohemian Monument and the back side of Marketplatz. There's the lovely lady in her fountain. I might be tempted to tear off my clothes and jump into the pond here, but that's against the law, so I'm not going to do it. Entering the fountain is prohibited, say the signs. But ain't this grand? Here's the pergola off to our right and to the east. Blue sky, not a cloud to be seen anywhere. Although we do need rain pretty bad. It certainly is a beautiful day, especially if you're going to be making a video of a travelogue of the bike trail. It's a lot more fun to do when it's dry than when it is raining. Now, I'll scoot around here, head for the camera, and turn back down towards the bike trail from whence we just came. Back on the trail now, heading north. Backside of Windings, right over here to the right. Gog sheet metal off over there. And now we are approaching two of New Ulm's big baseball parks. Mueller Field. Immediately to my left, up on the top of the hill, is Johnson Park, the football field, and then just beyond that is Johnson Park baseball. You notice the architecture here on a lot of these buildings is the New Ulm style, where you see the red brick and then the courses of white delineating the building and giving it a lot of that New Ulm character. Most of the mowed area around here is kind of a dirty greenish brown, but take a look at that baseball park. Every blade of grass nice and green, just waiting for the players to come and practice and then play. Big electrical scoreboard here up on the top of the hill. You can see the lights from both the football field. Next is what I like to call Graffiti Park. One of the reasons you see so little graffiti around New Ulm is, one, the people know that it's unsightly and against the law and not a nice thing to do, but to provide for those people who just must put graffiti up here, we've got this special area off to your left. And look at the colorful graffiti and artwork, really, that is displayed here. The city of New Ulm periodically comes and repaints all this white and presents a great canvas for the artists to go to work on. The official name of this is called Art Wall Park, not Graffiti Park. To my right here is one of New Ulm's numerous soccer fields. Now soccer is becoming a bigger and bigger sport in America and New Ulm along the way. In Deutschland and Germany, of course, that's called football, but we call it soccer here. More of the park off to your left. This is especially nice because with the sun coming in from the east, just blazing on here, this is an absolutely beautiful sight, the artwork. Take a look at the Star Wars sign right there. That's grand. Some of it is artist and some of it's more cartoon style, but I'm looking around here and I can only see one dirty word. The rest of it is pretty fine and decent, I would say. Now, but straight ahead of us on the trail, we're coming up to the tunnel, which underpasses the railroad off to my right. The overpass you see there is highways 14 and 15 coming in together over that bridge. And then the railroad tracks underneath the bridge, and underneath the railroad tracks is the tunnel. So we're going to go nice and slow down there. You can get a good look at it. And I may even yodel a little bit once we get inside the tunnel, just to show you how it sounds when we get in there. I'm going to go nice and slow. This is 6th North Street. It's a corner most people never see, but there it is. Rolling down now into the dark, under the railroad tracks and under the highway. Rolling, 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 rolling. Hello, 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 hello. Going through the tunnel and coming out the other side. Another nice pathway of green. Blue sky overhead. God is in his heaven and all is right with the world. Here in New Ulm, Minnesota, on the 12th of September, the year of our Lord, 2013. Now, folks, here we are. on Front Street. Industry down here gets a little heavier, a lot of trucking on this street. Craft going by. And safety first. Now we've just crossed Front Street. Off to our left is Shelter Products. As I say, the industry gets a little heavier down here, but as we head a little bit east here for about a half a block or so, the trail will turn to the north, and the industry will be on our left, on the west, and the riverside area along the Minnesota River will be on our right to the east. So you get a nice juxtaposition of industry and natural beauty. Again, you'll often see deer down here who've come in from down along the river. DNA Trucking is coming up here on the left, and I like to count the number of cars in their parking lot, give you an idea about how many trucks there are out on the road. Generally, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday when they're going out, there's 50 or more private cars parked here for the drivers. Off here to the right, it's I believe all this land along here on the east side is unbuildable because it's in the floodplain. The Minnesota River has been known to flood from time to time. Last time I think was in 2011. Since then the big berm has been built out on the south end of town where the flooding was generally the worst. But this is going to remain unbuildable. I don't know about forever. Nothing is forever, but for a long time anyway. Off to the left here is Minnesota Valley Testing, big testing laboratory, water, soils, and those kinds of things. Now we're at 12th North Street. And you'll see quite a number of walkers along this route, particularly because being close to these industrial sites at break time and again at lunch, you'll see a lot of these people out walking on the bike trails. Okay. Guten Morgen. Wie geht es Ihnen? Ja, mach's gut. Beyond them on the upside of that hill off here to the left is 3M's big plant. They employ 650, 700 people. One of New Ulm's biggest employers, along with Kraft Foods. Off here to the right, you'll see this row of trees. These trees were all planted 3 years ago now by Shell's Brewery. They were celebrating their 150th year of brewing beer here in New Ulm, and in honor of that, they planted 150 trees along the bike trail here in New Ulm. Now maybe this would be a good place to celebrate that event. I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to park my bike. And then I'm going to do my Superman trick. I'm going to do my quick presto changeo, take off my yellow jacket and display super shells. I want you to observe that as I go through this exercise, at no time do my fingers leave my hands. Got to get this jacket off over my gloves because I want you to see particularly the back side of this Shell's shirt with the Shell's beer bottles down in the 3 pockets. And if you look down deep in there, you can see the whole bottle. So they are all Shell's Fire Brick. One of my favorites. It's kind of a red beer. Get a good look at this. So I'll put my jacket now in my bag here. In the bag are all the things that a biker needs to have as he goes. I've got my toolkit in case I have a mechanical problem. I have an extra inner tube in case I need that. I've got a patch kit if I can patch my bad tire. I've got some trail mix, nuts and dried fruits in a bag there in case I get hungry along the way. And then, of course, every biker needs to stay hydrated, so I'm going to have a schluck. I'm going to have a drink of my water here. I leave this bottle about half full of water and then when I get home I will put it in the freezer. So I've got the bottom of it is frozen, and that's what keeps my drinking water cold at the top. I'm out of my jacket and into my Shell's shirt uniform here. Now we're going north on the bike trail. The sun has warmed the earth. It's just right for biking. You may have noticed that I'm using several different hand positions on my bike as I ride. I've got my hands now in my gloves. I've got a gel palm to them, and my hands are now on what they call bar ends to give me a different hand position. If you ride a bike for hours and you keep your hands in the same position, after a while they start to tingle. So one of the ways to solve that is to change your hand positions frequently, and that's what these bar ends are for. So I've got the bar end position, and then I've got the regular hand position on the grips here on the handlebars, and then also I can hold on to the very center of the handlebars, and all those help relieve the pressure on my hands. Also, it's important to keep your wrists straight. Do not bend your wrists as you ride, or again, you're restricting the blood flow, and you're going to pay for that maybe at 3 o'clock tomorrow morning when you wake up with your hands tingling. A little agriculture about to appear on our north or right side here. Cornfield. The stalks are starting to turn brown. The ears are beginning to droop. They're not taking nourishment out of the stalk anymore. And in another week or so, I would think it would be harvest time. You'll see a number of benches. I'm stopping now. You'll see a number of benches here along the trail. This was in memory of Chuck Kroll, a young man who died young here in August of 2008. And on the anniversary of his death, his parents put out a little display of water and other items for travelers as a remembrance to Chuck Kroll. Off here to the right, trap range. And if you get out here late in the afternoon sometime. Now we're passing the trap shooting range on the right. Perhaps you can hear some of the gunshots in the distance there. The traps just pop out of those houses down there. So this is the New Ulm trap range. And for those of you who are familiar with the New Ulm battery, we store a lot of their equipment here. Next on the right is the home of the New Ulm battery, New Ulm's private army, dating back to 1863. Inside are cannons, caissons, and limbers, along with the stalls for the 16 draft horses that pull this equipment in parades and other events. You'll notice that the sumac along here is now just beginning to turn. Again, a sign that the drought that we've been going through for the last month and a half or so, and the fact that the fall is almost upon us, the sumac is starting to turn. Now here you see more of the trees planted by Shells in honor of their 150th birthday. Out here in this field you'll see some bird houses planted, I think, by the Boy Scouts. I'm not sure about that. And you can get a nice view down to the Minnesota River through that break in the trees over yonder. There is almost no hills on this route, but we're on one of them right now, and it's only about 50 yards long and almost no effort to pump up. No effort at all, of course, on the way down. Nice straight stretch here. This is especially nice when the wind is out of the south, because it kind of blows you along here. And if the wind is strong enough, you can stand up on the pedals and the wind will carry you along here at 10 to 12 miles an hour without pedaling. That's always quite nice. Up ahead is the new electrical high line that was built through here. I suppose it's 4 years ago now. Big power line poles. A lady here, going to pass her. I don't know, 3/10 of a mile perhaps. A little uphill here, get your heart pumping. Stay in the saddle. Stand up if you have to, but get a lot more power on the pedal when you're seated. A quiet spot here to have a picnic, a snake, a Totschlange, a dead snake. Okay, residence is on the left. This is 23rd North, which heads up to the backside of the cemetery. And heading out north towards the city limits and the end of the bike trail. Where you see that yellow sign up ahead, the bike trail will end. And there, Brown County Road 13 heads over to the Boisman Bridge into Nicolet County, and the bottom road, which goes up to the Harkin store. The street you see heading off to the left there is the old KC Road, and that more or less follows the Minnesota River north for, I don't know, 4 miles maybe. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our voyage. The end of the paved area of the bike trail. And as you will see, or have seen, on the map which we're showing as part of this program, you'll see that the bike trail then ends up on the road and heads up towards the west end of New Ulm. But we're not going to do that today, so from the filming crew of Ron and Smiley, and where our friend Mark might be, way in the back there. I wish you a good day, a guten Tag, gute Reise, and a good trip, and viel Vergnügen in New Ulm. Have a happy and fun time in New Ulm, Minnesota. We, on our two-wheeled vehicles, are welcome, and you too are coming along with us on our next bike ride along the New Ulm Bike Trail. So get yourself into your biking duds, get your helmet on, pump up your tires, make sure the brakes work, and come along down here and get your heart to pumping sometime, maybe 2-3 times a week. And before you know it, you'll be trim and fit as a fiddle and ready for love.
Thank you. Smile.